Hello, everyone. My name is Jules, and I know a lot of people are new to Parents Corner at Juju's Place, but I'm on 5 minutes early because I do have a guest speaker, and I am trying to pull her in. So, give me a second while I got 5 minutes. Let me pull her in. So, everyone who is watching, go ahead and get yourself something to drink because we're going to have a nice conversation with Elizabeth Overton. Let's see. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I'm multitasking tonight.
As
Unexpectedly. I figured moms would understand. It would be okay.
That's cool. It's nice for you to be here. As I was telling everyone, we had a little bit of time, but we're at 8 and we have like about 15 new members. So I am the founder of Parents Corner at Juju's Place. And this is my guest speaker, Elizabeth Overton.
Hello.
And she's going to talk to you.
Trying to do the light. Trying to get some light up in here. There we go.
Yes, Montessori Homes. Can you explain a little bit about that to the group tonight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are going to chat a little bit about how to make your house set up to encourage your young child's independence and self-confidence, give them the ability to do things on their own around the house. So that'll help you out as a mom, and also will help your child out as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's the plan.
Need that peacefulness. We all need that peacefulness. So I'm going to leave it up to you. And if anyone has questions, you can go ahead and ask. And you tell us about your website. Tell us everything.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so I am Elizabeth Overton, and we are going to talk about Montessori homes. So like I said, that involves creating your house to be a little able that your child can be a little more independent and less reliant on parents throughout the day. We always want to make sure that we are there and available for our children, but we want to encourage them to try things on their own and be able to like reach their own clothes in the closet and things like that. So we'll go through all of those details. A little about me personally. I founded and I run a Montessori school in a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we started in 2014 with 2 little preschool classes. And we now have 115 students, with students from 18 months all the way through 8th grade. So we have grown for sure. And some days it's amazing, and some days it's really hard. But I really can't imagine doing anything else. I love it every day. I really do. With that naturally has come some parent coaching. It's just come along with the territory of, helping parents with their children, and, hey, now we're going to potty train. When do we take them off the bottle? Just, little conversations like that in the lobby of the school. And I realized I loved that, and I became really passionate about that. And I just thought, this is what gives me joy, is helping these parents, especially these first-time parents who feel kind of overwhelmed. It's their first time they've ever had a 2-year-old, and what's normal and what's not normal, and why are they yelling no at me, and oh my gosh, I'm a terrible parent. So it's just good to help parents calm down, find a little peace about it, that this is normal. Your kid's not going to go to college in diapers. We're going to get him there. I say that a lot, like, oh my gosh, he's not potty trained early enough. And I say, it's going to be okay. He's not going to be sleeping in your bed in high school. We're going to get through all of this, and it's okay. And if he is, whatever works for you. But if that's a stress point, then I help them work through it. And so with that, I was getting my Montessori, my master's in Montessori education Montessori leadership, sorry. So after I finished that, I enrolled in the Jai Institute for parent education, and I just fell in love with their system and how they approach everything from the brain development standpoint, and just really from a science-based perspective. And maybe what we're asking of some kids is not developmentally appropriate. Maybe their brain is not ready yet. So how can we as parents recognize that and say, oh, let's take a step back and not get mad at them because they're ignoring me? Maybe they're really not capable of doing that yet. And it's not a defiance issue, it's more of a development issue. So now I've become really passionate about educating parents about the brain development side of it, because I feel like when parents understand where their child is in terms of the stages of development, it's easier to parent them, and it's easier to plan the day when we know what they're capable of. For example, on my Instagram page the other day, I talked about how it's really hard for young children to listen to and follow through with multi-step directions. Get your shoes on, get your bag, and meet me at the door. Well, then we're mad that they're still sitting on the floor trying to put on their shoes. Well, maybe we gave them too much information, So maybe we say, get your shoes on, please, and then please get your bag, and then please meet me at the door after each task is complete. So that's kind of become my passion over the last few months. So I've integrated that with Montessori. And that's kind of where we are, just loving life and running a school and doing parent coaching. And I'd love to talk to you guys tonight. That's why I'm here. So let's get going. We're going to talk about setting up your home for Montessori. I call it Montessori. You can think of it just as independence and self-confidence. Montessori can kind of be a scary buzzword for some people. And like we had talked about, maybe it's kind of associated with more of like a hoity-toity education system in some parts of the country. And that's just not how I approach Montessori. My school is very down to earth. We try to be very affordable so that we can open the idea of Montessori to as many families as possible, because it really does help children with the foundation of independence and just being ready for the world, because we are putting so much back on the children in terms of their choices and their decisions. So it really helps them become emotionally mature and developmentally mature and able to kind of take on the world one day. So I'm a big believer in it in the early years. So let's get going.
Okay.
Why do we think this is important, right? Why is it important for your child to be independent? Why can't we just carry them around and get their cup and put on their shoes, and it goes faster? It makes the day run smoother. There's less arguments. I don't have to fight with them about tying their shoes. I just stick it on and tie their shoe or do the Velcro. But when you're putting things back on your child in terms of brushing their own hair, putting on their own shoes, putting away their own books, you're helping them organize ideas, right? Like, what do I want to wear? What kind of snack do I want to eat? Mommy put these choices out for me. Which one do I want? So it sounds pretty basic, but it really starts the brain firing, being able to create the connections of a need or a want and how to solve that problem. So on a very basic level of, I'm thirsty, there's a cup, I can get water, as opposed to just yelling to mom, I'm thirsty, and then mom comes in with a cup of water, right? Like they weren't kind of forced, for lack of a better term, to come up with a solution. So it just kind of like mom solved the problem. So that's an important thing. Also is time management. We want children to, obviously, like maybe 3 and 4 years old, okay, go brush your teeth and wash your face before bed. So then they have to figure out, I have to do this. Obviously, they're not reading the clock, but they know they have a definitive, time frame, because then we have to go to bed. They can't just stand in the bathroom for 10 minutes and stare at themselves in the mirror, because mommy's going to come in and say, are we ready for bed? And we won't have our tasks done. So it helps them figure out which one do I want to do first? How long do I do each one? That kind of thing, just at the very beginning of time management, which obviously helps everybody in life as they get older. If you say, will you go pick out a book for bedtime and I'll meet you in bed and we'll read it, instead of just your kid getting in bed and you get a book. So you say, they get more of an opportunity to A, make a decision, and B, figure out, well, this needs to happen relatively quickly, right? Like this is not a 30-minute ordeal. So that kind of thing. Cause and effect. What happens if I don't brush my hair? It's tangled. And I will put a sidebar in here. This takes from moms. You have to let go of control a little bit, right? Like you have to be willing to let your child's hair be tangled a day or two. And then, hey, why is your hair uncomfortable? Why is your hair tangled? Maybe why does it look like that? Let's brush it, help them solve through the problem with them. But instead of just walking up and brushing their hair, like, why are you brushing their hair? Because it's tangled, or it hurts if it's not brushed, that kind of thing. I'm a big believer in like coats. We don't force kids to wear coats, but we take the coat as a mom. Okay, they're fighting, they don't want to wear a coat. Don't choose that battle as a mom, right? But take the coat, because they're going to be cold. There's going to be a natural consequence. So they start learning that cause and effect early on. If I don't wear a coat, I'm cold. If I don't wear long sleeves today, then I'm cold. So, and obviously as they get older, you give them more control. When they're younger, maybe you put out like 2 outfits and they get to choose. And then when they're older, you open the whole closet and let them choose. Okay, so let's look at individual rooms in the house. So in your child's bedroom, always want the children to, in Montessori, we always want the children to have control over their movement. So we're not a big fan of cribs. We like beds that are low to the ground, either a mattress on the floor or on a little frame. You do want to up off the floor a little bit just for airflow, for cleanliness, but it doesn't have to be some big fancy wooden thing from, out of a catalog or whatever. I just aged myself with catalog. I just told you guys, hold on, I'm off the internet. A big fancy thing, it can be just a simple wooden frame or plastic frame. You want it to be low to the ground, and this is kind of counterintuitive for little ones because we kind of think they need to be contained, because we're worried, right? What are they going to get into? Are they going to be safe? So we put them in a crib so that we as parents have control over when they're in and out of the crib. Well, the goal is that you just create a room that's a yes space. And a yes space is a space that they can touch everything, that it is safe. Before you put a child on the floor, you make sure it's the safest environment possible. Make sure there's no heavy furniture they can pull over on themselves. Make sure all of your outlets are filled, covered with the outlet covers. Make sure everything's low to the ground so that it's not a danger to them, but let them have that freedom. So you put the mattress on the floor, we call it a floor bed, and give them the freedom to move around. Now, what's funny is the first few nights you might find them asleep in the middle of the floor because they've, gotten out, and then they just fall asleep. Soon they will begin to associate, they'll learn that the mattress is the most comfortable place. You put their lovey on the mattress, you put their blanket on a mattress, the pillow, make it the softest, most inviting space in the room. But you might find them laying next to the bookshelf because they fell asleep reading a book, and that's okay. That's okay. It's a safe space for them. But the goal is that they have the freedom to move around and that they're not relying on someone else to tell them when they can and can't move their body. If they are really little, so if they're not crawling yet, some parents will move, straight from like their bed or their bassinet straight onto a floor bed, which is perfectly acceptable. But you probably want a little rail around the bed before the, you want to make sure they have safe mobility before you just give them freedom of the room. So just do a little rail around it, take that off, or put a little opening so that when they're crawling, they do have the freedom to explore the room on their own. This does another thing beyond just help give them freedom. It builds a trust between you and your child. They start to learn early on that you trust them to make decisions and that you trust that they're going to, be safe and that they're going to read books and, do appropriate things in a space. Obviously, you're always right there around the corner. You're not putting them in the room and then, going to the neighbor's house. That's not what we're doing here. This is simply just mom's always, 2 seconds away. But it's giving them that independence, letting them know mom trusts them. As they get older, this is kind of an exciting thing, right? They get to be on their own. They get to make choices. They get to play. This also will help you with independent play as they get older.
We lost sound.
Now?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. Technology.
I don't either. Okay.
That's so weird.
Okay.
I could see your mouth, but I couldn't hear you. And then everybody can hear you, but not me.
Yes, the people started telling me, we can't hear. I want to share this. Okay, so the bed on the floor.
Yes.
And what age do you expect, like, you feel comfortable with the child having the low bed? 2?
Yeah, 2 is pretty common.
Okay.
I had said, I don't know what you heard, but I had said some people do it younger than that. And the only thing is you just have to make sure it's safe. So, we don't want them rolling off of it if they're not in complete control of their mobility yet. So if they're not confident walking or crawling or anything like that, you just need to make sure that the bed's not too high that they're going to fall off. But 2 is pretty common, 1 or 2, so that they can start being independent and just being on their own. And that helps with independent play when they're older too, because they're used to being in their room. And that they'll play on their own a little more as opposed to being kind of like on you all day long, which helps moms too when they're older. I'm still okay. Okay, perfect. So let's look at the closet in the bedroom. So I feel like this is a space that can get very overwhelming. For me, with a girl especially, I just would buy all the cute outfits. I would just buy all. With my son, I'm like athletic shorts and a t-shirt, whatever. He's fine. He doesn't even care. But like I had all the bows and all the outfits, for her. And also he's the second kid. So I think I was like, this is a little ridiculous. We don't need this many clothes. But so minimal clothes is the goal so that you don't have, things get visually overwhelming. And so, just for us and the kids. So you want to keep clothes at a minimum. If you do want to buy a lot of clothes and cute things for holidays, I suggest storing them and getting them out as appropriate, as opposed to having everything out at once, because that can get really overwhelming and hard for kids to make choices with. You want your kids to have you want them to be able to touch and get all of the clothes that you want them to be able to wear. So like all of the weather appropriate clothes. Make sure that they are within their kids' reach. So some people install a low bar in the closet. Mm-hmm. I didn't do that. They make an extender so it hangs on the original bar that's higher in the closet and just hangs down. So and it adds a second thing for adults, but it works really well for kids. And then you just put like 10 shirts on it, and let them make their choice throughout the day or throughout the week of what they want to wear. And then, let's see, for baskets and baskets and drawers, I say put a picture on the front. This helps them put clothes away and also know where everything goes. I realized when I turned my car off, I lost my timer. So I'm having like a moment about it. Okay, there I have another one. I was like, I'm going to go. Kids helping put away their clothes as well as being able to pick out their clothes. So having it accessible, having a specific place for everything. Hey, socks go here, underwear goes here, shorts go here. And till your kids can read, just put a little picture on the front of where everything goes. That way they can get themselves dressed or vice versa, put it away when it's clean. Let's see. Oh, I think it's good to have a mirror at your kids' height so that they can see. In most Montessori bedrooms, they have a mirror that's low at the children's height. That way they can see their, kids really like to look at themselves in mirrors beginning at infant age and all the way up. My 11-year-old daughter still stares at herself in the mirror. So, and I'm pretty sure that'll probably continue through the teenage years. So the low mirror, I like a full length mirror. So that they can see from their head to their shoes, they can see their whole outfit, or if they're standing there with no clothes on after a shower, they can like see their body, right? They know what they're looking at. It's important for them to learn about their body. So it helps with getting dressed, and just for them to like learn about each other, and they can learn about themselves. They can watch their hands move when they talk, all of that. So low mirror, I think, is a must. So for toys and books, I think it's important that they also, you just have a few. You don't want a bunch. You don't want it overwhelming. I always have this visual of the toy box that is so full that nobody knows what's on the bottom of it, you know, and it's just like what's down there. Like that's like, you don't even want to like dig down there because you're like, who knows? There's probably like yogurt. I don't even know. So it's just overwhelming. So I'm a big fan of minimal toys. And if, like I said, just with clothes, if you want to have a bunch, rotate them out. And this also keeps things fresh in the bedroom, so that they are excited about playing in there and they're not bored with what's in there. So rotate things out. When you are buying toys, look for what's called open-ended toys. These are toys that allow the children to play with them however they want. So blocks and trains and Play-Doh and things like that. Well, you might not want to put Play-Doh in the bedroom, but, you know, things that they can do on their own. Legos, baby dolls. I always say avoid the toys that have a specific purpose, right? Like you can only do one thing with them, because that doesn't require the children to use their brain and be creative at all. It's lots of lights and sounds, and maybe you watch the doggy do a dance, and then that's all you do with the toy, right? So I would say, you know, I'm a big fan of blocks. I love the what we call unit blocks, or just the plain wooden blocks, and the kids can stack them. They can make them like a little train. And then like my son would always stack it up and knock it down. Like that's a cause and effect, right? Like they're learning little, you know, things throughout their playtime. It's important that they use their brain. So that's the open-ended toys help a lot. For books, I say get realistic pictures. In Montessori, we really like realistic pictures because the kids are still learning, like, what is a giraffe? What is a zebra? So if you're putting like a purple giraffe book on their shelf, maybe they're thinking that giraffes are purple because they're still developing those thoughts. So it's always good to get, you know, even if they're not photographs, even if they're illustrations, try to make sure they're realistic, right? Like we don't want a purple zebra, you know, they're learning, they need to learn that zebras are black and white. They're learning in everything. So just try and do realistic. Try and find a way to display them in the room so the cover is up front instead of the spines. If you think about that, like a traditional library has the spines out, but your kids can't read. That looks really boring, you know?
Right.
The books front, they have little bookshelves that you can put them facing forward. You don't, if you want to, that's fantastic. If you don't, just get a basket and lay them, and, you know, just place them so they're sitting forward. That way they can see the pretty pictures.
Everyone take a drink. Go ahead.
All right, let's look at the bathroom. My kids always laugh when I have this up on the screen because I have a PowerPoint that goes with this, and there's pictures of kids on the toilet. They always laugh. But so we're going to talk about the toilet. So the bathroom, this is geared towards young kids. We like them to use the real toilet because that's what they're eventually going to use. It's not necessity, but sometimes we find that kids that use the little plastic potty are then scared of the big potty, and that's a hard transition to make. So I recommend just getting the little toilet insert, you know, the little thing that goes on it so they don't fall in. You don't want them having to hold themselves up or fall in. You want them to be comfortable on that big toilet. If that's not possible, then use the little one. It's just as fine. You just may have to have a little transition period to get them on the big one. Let's see. You always want to make sure the toilet paper is accessible, and you always want to have.
Are you sure about that?
Well, right. I'm about to say, and a place for the parent to sit. This is if the parent's in the room with them. This is kind of when we're just introducing them to the toilet. Otherwise, you might go through a lot of rolls of toilet paper with, you know, playing. So, yeah, so this is at the beginning. You want to make sure they have a place, that the parent has a place to sit. You don't want to just say, hey, this is a brand new thing. Now I'm going to leave you and we're going to go, you know, I'm going to go to a different place. So, yeah, you want them to practice using toilet paper, obviously help them. But by the time they're like 4 or 5, they probably should be, you know, pretty independent in the bathroom so that they can go to preschool successfully. I like to have books nearby because sometimes kids take a little while. Sometimes kids sit there a long time. So having a little book. My stepdaughter, she's so funny. She had a cat book, like a little kitten book on the back of the toilet. And for years, she would not go to the bathroom unless we had a cat book, and we moved houses and lost the book, and we had to get a different cat book. It was so funny because she associated that with the toilet. I'm like, whatever works. Okay, so the sink in the bathroom, you want to make sure the kids can reach it. Oh, with the toilet as well. You may need to get a stool so that they can get up to the toilet themselves. It's important that they can reach it without having to rely on you to pick them up. Same thing with the sink. You want to make sure that there is a stool that's tall enough that they can reach the faucets. But with this, you have to have a lesson on the hot water and the cold water, and don't leave them alone because they may be all in the hot water and not be safe when they're younger. So make sure that they understand there's a difference in the water temperatures, but still be there to monitor as a mom. In Montessori, we like to make sure they can wash their face after they eat. If they're snotty, kids get dirty faces. So we want to make sure that instead of us just walking up and wiping it with a wipe, that we say, hey, let's go look in the mirror and let's look at your face, so they're part of it. So they're starting to realize that, oh, I got dirty after I eat. Here's how I fix it. So you always have a little towel nearby and a little washcloth, and you just help them wipe it. But that's the alternative to just kind of walking up with the baby wipe and wiping it off. Obviously, sometimes that's necessary because we're moms and life is busy. But if you have time to encourage that, hey, let's go look at this and fix this together, then you want them to be able to reach the sink and see the mirror and all of that. With that, in the bathroom, you want them to have a set of their own self-care items. So you want them to have a little brush and a toothbrush and toothpaste. That's all theirs. So there's a way that they can, you can store it low in a little basket. Some people even get, if you have room in your bathroom, an extra little, almost like an end table to a couch, and they sit it there, and they put a mirror and the self-care items. I didn't have that. We were in a pretty small space when my kids were little, and so we just had a little basket on our counter for them. But this gives them the opportunity, hey, why don't you go brush your hair? Like, your hair's we haven't brushed it since you woke up. Go ahead and brush it, and then see what they come out looking like. You may have to go back and help them, but let them try it out first. Give them a chance to try and be independent first. All right, we have a few minutes. I'm going to go through the kitchen really quickly. In the kitchen, you want to make sure that your children have a space that has small cups, small plates, their items. Some people get a whole separate piece of furniture. Like I said, we were in a small space. It's not necessary to have one of those Pinteresty kitchens where everything's color-coded and perfect. Don't feel pressure. Don't feel that pressure. The goal is that that everything's accessible to your kids. For me, that was simply a low cabinet, one of the lower cabinets, and they had 2 shelves in there, and so all of their things went on there. So I also put a basket of snacks that I had decided were healthy, so some dried fruit, some crackers, that kind of thing. They had access to that all day. So if they were hungry, they could go get a snack that I approved of beforehand, and they didn't have to come to me and ask me to open a box or anything like that. And that helps them feel independent and confident that they can solve a problem, and they feel like, ooh, I'm getting my own food, right? But it's all what we call freedom within limits, right? It's limits that you have set as a parent, but giving them freedom within those boundaries. Same thing in the fridge. You can give them a low shelf. Like, my kids like string cheese and yogurt. So I always had a shelf in the fridge that they had access to. But again, I had chosen the items that go on there. So freedom within limits. In Montessori, we call a child's table a weaning table. It's simply a table that's low to the ground. It's the child's size. There's a chair that they can sit in so their feet almost touch the ground or completely touch the ground. This can be a multi-use table. In my house, it was also our little arts and crafts table. So it doesn't have to be a special fancy table of any sort. We did multiple things at it, but it's also where my kids got to eat. You want to make sure that they feel ownership of it. So you teach them how to clean it. You can give them little paper towels and a little spray bottle that they can feel ownership of it. Then it's their table, and then they're excited to eat there. They don't feel like, oh, I'm being left out from the big table, that kind of thing. The last thing I'll say about the kitchen is that kids love to help in the kitchen. This dinner time can be a stressful time. Mom's trying to get everything ready. So it's like, kids are underfoot and you're stressed out and you're like, I don't know what to do. So just try and turn their excitement, I want to be with mom, I want to be in the kitchen, turn that into something productive. They can sweep up crumbs. It's really good to get a little broom and dustpan. It's like a little sweeper brush almost. You can get them at the dollar store. And then it's their little thing, and they can sort on their little shelf, and they clean up crumbs, or if they spill Cheerios at their table, they can clean it up and then throw it in the trash can. They love that. They can mix things up in a bowl with you. I mean, hey, we need to, whatever, combine these, we're going to put strawberries and grapes in this bowl together. Can you pour these two things in the bowl and kind of mix them up? Just, take advantage of their excitement to be helpful. They can throw away trash, they can dry up spills, anything like that. So instead of it being so stressful, hey, I got to put my kid in front of the TV while I cook dinner, try and turn it into a time that they can be helpful.
Right.
Yeah. So just kind of in the end, like setting up your home to encourage the self-confidence and independence helps really prepare them for life. And that feels kind of silly saying it when they're 3 and 4 and 5, but you're really laying that foundation of, hey, I can take on the world. I can do this. I can brush my hair. And that seems silly, but it will translate to, then I can take risks, healthy risks in life. And I'm not scared to go to college, and I'm not scared to get my own first apartment because I know how to handle a kitchen. I know how to clean up, that kind of thing. So that's our goal, is we're always trying to set them up for success, give them freedom within limits, because one day they won't have limits. So they need to understand how to make healthy choices that are positive, and all that. So yeah, that's the goal in your house. I hope I gave you some good ideas.
Wow, Elizabeth, you gave us great ideas. My mind is
like a lot. I'm sorry.
I love it. And that's what we need, because a lot of parents out there are just stressed. They just came home from work, and they don't, the child doesn't realize what mommy went through. So they just want to be like, mommy, so it's like, okay, sweetie, how are you doing? Let's go get our stuff together and let them go for self. And it's beautiful the way that you laid it out. You went from room to room to room to room where there is no room left that I heard. Watch TV, go get on your tablet, go play. You was just like, this is what we can do. And I loved it. It was great. If anyone has any questions, they can ask them now. One thing I wanted to add to yours, when I was doing daycare, I took a little bowl and I put it in the refrigerator with a little cup, put it in the refrigerator. And when they woke up from, for the day, they got their bowl, they put it on the table, they got their little cup. I taught them how to pour it in.
Yeah.
Go make your breakfast. And it was great. It's like stuff like that they just enjoy.
I love it. And it makes them feel so good and so old, right? Like, I'm pouring my own milk, I'm making my own cereal. When in yes, that's true, but it, it's also really helpful to us, and so it's like a side effect of them growing and, everything being developmentally appropriate. Mom's getting, or caregivers getting, a little break, so it's all beneficial.
I do want you to state, or if you can write your website, so people can go to your website and they can check out you as a parenting coach, because she graduated from the same school I graduated from. So it's fabulous. She's fabulous.
So you can find me at it's just montessorimotherhood.com. Try and keep it easy. I'll type it in the comments because Montessori is not the easiest word to spell. Same thing at Instagram, montessori.motherhood. I'll put those both in the comments. And I would love to hear from anybody, or follow up, or you can sign up. I'm creating a whole membership where you can find little 30-second to 1-minute videos of things you can do with your kids to encourage the independence and self-confidence, starting from infant and going through age 5. So you can get on the list to find out when that goes live as well, if you're interested.
That is awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us. And I say thank you from the rest of our community.
Thank you so much for watching.
All right.
Bye.